Our next guest is joining us for the very first time. Please welcome real estate expert from Taylor Realty Group, Lauren Taylor.
There she is. Lauren Taylor, how are you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Great to have you here.
Thanks.
Important topic today. Market's going up, homeowners are happy, it makes the city look great, does great things for industry, but unfortunately, our poor VA buyers, are they getting priced out? What should they do? This is what we're going to talk about today. So how do you deal with such a rabid market when you're a VA buyer and your income is not going up as fast as the home prices are?
Yeah, it's definitely a market-specific issue. For the last 3 years, we've had a significant amount of growth. As a military spouse, it's something I'm particularly passionate about, to make sure that our VA buyers are getting the homes that they need for their families. I personally think that VA buyers have a great shot in this market right now, but they definitely have to adjust their expectations in terms of the houses that they can afford. This port is different than Virginia, it's different than Hawaii, it's different in terms of what house and also what type of school district you're going to be able to purchase into. So for me, it's we can't change the market. We can't change what the listing side is at right now. But what I can do is help my buyers adjust their expectations and then represent them strongly to get the homes that they want.
How do you adjust the expectations? Is it just about saying, listen, you're not going to get as much house as you think, let's focus on location? Or, what is the secret to, managing those expectations?
I 100% believe in context. So the problem is that when a buyer, any buyer, forget if they're VA or non-VA, if any buyer doesn't have enough context, then they don't really understand what they can afford in this market. So the problem also with VA buyers is that they have a very short timeline to find a house, right? Most people are here for like 10 days. So one of the things that I do to help my clients create context is to provide them with video tours of properties before they even get here. So, they already know, they've seen this, 20 properties prior to this one, knowing that this is probably the best they're going to get in their price point. And also maybe knowing it's not their forever home. They're going to be here for 4 to 8 years, and this is the right choice for them now that's going to meet their needs now.
And so how do you combat that? You mentioned not necessarily a forever home. Sometimes people get PCS different places. What about the VA guys who say, or gals who say, hey, I think it's a better idea to just rent for this 48 years or however long it is, and I don't want to mess with this marketplace, and I don't want to have risk in the market. What do you say to those guys?
Everyone's, my goal as an agent is to give my clients the most information possible so they can make the best decisions for their family. The reality is it's not always the right choice for someone to buy. Sometimes it is the best choice for them to rent. But when you look at it economically in terms of, dollar for dollar spent, right? If we're given a BAH, which for civilians is a housing allowance, if you will. And if we use that towards rent, let's look at 3 years over time, $3,000 a month for rent, that's a negative guaranteed loss of $100,000. So if the market, where the market is at, is the deterrent, then I have to ask, is renting really the better option? We're guaranteeing a loss of $100,000 versus, potentially not guaranteeing a loss of $100,000. So to me, it's not really about whether it's the right time to buy in San Diego. It's really about whether the client is in the right position to buy for themselves. Do they have a nice, comfortable cushion? Are they in the position to make those monthly payments? And have they given themselves the timeline necessary to recoup any fluctuations in the market if that happens?
So the way you're looking at renting is basically like it is loss because there's no opportunity for gain? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Sort of like if you own the home, you're paying some principal, you get to write off some interest, so there's something there.
Yeah, there's definitely a tax incentive to owning your property, but you can't deny that writing a $3,000 check to someone else's mortgage isn't a loss. You're gaining a proper roof over your head. You're gaining a comfortable space to be, and for some people that is absolutely the right choice given their different time frames. But if you have a time frame that allows for adjustments, or if you're comfortable being open to rent your home, if the market isn't exactly where you're at when you move to your next station, then I think the buying definitely needs to be considered. The problem that I have as an agent is that I want to create enough context before they get here so they feel comfortable to make the right decision for them. And so I'll have military families come and they'll say, I'm going to rent for a year and then we're going to buy. Well, I find that as like a challenge. Like, well, if you found the right place for you, would you be open to buying now? And the answer is always yes. Why? Because renting, you lose a year of rent, you lose a year of your time, and ultimately we move every 2 to 3 years. Who wants to move mid-station? So most of my clients who have entered with the that as their desire, to come here first and then live here for a year and then move. After finding out my system and how I help my military buyers, we find them the houses they want off the bat and save them that money and save them that extra move.
What do you think about the VA loan stigma that I know has been out there in the past? Is it still out there? Is it dissipating? Are people becoming more comfortable with it now? Because my understanding in the past in these hot markets is that the VA offers get put in the bottom of the pile because listing agents are afraid of the VA financing not working out.
I think that is a reflection of old thinking, personally. I am not experiencing that in any sort of way. I have a comprehensive buyer's package that I produce. I'm in a number of spouses groups here in San Diego where that is a lot of feedback from clients who are working with other agents. And that's concerning to me, mostly because the VA has such a strong financing option that to allow those myths to continue to percolate, whether you're on the listing side or not, is very frustrating because it really is a disservice to our VA buyers. So I just try to educate as much as possible when I'm bringing in my offers, and I'm just not getting that feedback.
Okay, good. That's good. I mean, I'm glad to hear that.
Good for my clients.
Yeah, I think it's good it's good for the country because, our military men and women and their spouses, thank you for your service, by the way, and your husband as well, because I know the spouses are in it, you're in it just the same. I mean, you may not have to travel to a foreign country with a gun, but you have to support someone who does.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. I bet a lot of the time your clients, that's who you're working with. You're working with whoever's home, and maybe someone's gone. And so there's communication that needs to take place. So there's a lot involved there. And it was just really sad for a long period of time. I continued to hear that VA buyers were just having a really hard time getting through.
It's unfortunately the reality of the market. I'm just not experiencing it right now.
Awesome.
So, my husband's Navy right now. We've done 2 deployments with 3 young kids. So, I often thought about which position was harder. His last deployment wasn't extremely intense for him, and he made a comment to me like, "I'm just worried that I'm not going to have enough to do to really be away from the boys and to keep my mind off of it." And I was a little upset. I was like, I'm going to be here. It's going to be hard. We have 2 young kids. We have 3 boys under the age of 5.
Wow.
And he looked at me and said, would you rather have it be hard with the boys for 7 months or be gone from the boys for 7 months? I was like, okay. You win. No, you win. I can never imagine. So I'm grateful that he does that for us.
So you hear the sound of freedom flying over us right now. It's a function of where we are here near Miramar.
I actually timed that.
Yeah. Did you? Did you pay those guys?
I did.
Hey guys, you fly over right when I'm talking about
a pretty
this.
penny.
Oh, my goodness. This is a couple $1,000,000.
Yeah. You're welcome.
That's production value, Jade, right there. I tell you. What about your 1,000 Doors program? Tell me about that.
So this year I was honored to work with the Chief Petty Officer Scholarship Fund, and we have a golf tournament this year. It's in June. And one of the primary ways that I felt like I could give back is, I work with a lot of veterans. I would say probably 60% of my business at this point, maybe even 80, is veteran home buyers. So a way that I could give back was actually for every home that I show a military buyer, whether they're active or retired, actually donating $1 to the Chief Petty Officers Scholarship Fund with the goal of doing 1,000 doors by the end of the year. Right now we're at 232 and we launched it about 6 weeks ago, so it's been a little busy, but it's been going great. And so if we hit our goal at $1,000, then we'll actually double our donations. So year to year, I'd like to continue to grow this, and it's something the entire Taylor Realty Group is doing. I have a group of 7 agents. Most of us are actually active duty spouses. So yeah, we're excited to participate and excited to create a little bit more support for our military families here.
Yeah, well, we know it's needed. That's for sure. Is there any? I know this is tough to come up with just a broad stroke tip, but is there anything like maybe a neighborhood that is a good value for the schools, or some sort of direction to point someone in if there's a VA buyer out there who has just had a rough go?
Derek, I'm not going to say that live.
Any encouragement?
So I strongly believe that value in this market, sometimes we live in a world of information where information is provided wherever you go. You can go online, a million different answers are going to come out. There's a couple areas in San Diego where I definitely think that there's good value in terms of the resources that are available to home buyers. that could definitely fit their needs. So.
Yeah.
A lot of what I do is actually worked into my Facebook page. I work on educating a lot of people in terms of areas, in terms of off-market listings and things like that. So I would say visit my Facebook page for a lot of those tips.
Okay, that's a
good plug, right?
Perfect. Well done, Lauren.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today, and thank you and your husband so much for your service to this
you.
country. I have to tell you, there's been a lot of burning of the American flag going on lately. It's really ticking me off. And I realize it's the First Amendment right for people to want to burn the flag, but it's also my First Amendment right to tell you you're an Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.